All right, in this video, we're going to start talking about what are habitats, niches, and how do species within communities interact with one another. So first, a habitat. A habitat is an area with a particular combination of physical and biological environmental factors that affect which organisms can live within it. So basically, what allows an organism to live somewhere, where an organism lives, is its habitat. So within the habitat, you can have microhabitats and microbiomes. Microhabitat is a tiny part of a much larger habitat, maybe just the soil within a forest, or up in the canopy, or within a particular tree, or a part of a tree. It has its own set of environmental conditions called its microclimate. A microbiome are all the microbial things that live within a particular part of the environment, maybe within the gut of a living thing, maybe within the soil, maybe within a tree, whatever it might be. So what things in the environment allow some things to live there and some other things don't? And that's to do with tolerance. What environmental factors can a particular species deal with? If they can deal with the conditions that are there, they can live there. If they can't, obviously they don't. So tolerance is the range of external conditions within which a species can survive and reproduce. So you have the optimal range, that's where it's going to do the best, and then you have the zone of stress where it's not going to do quite as well. You have the lower and upper tolerance limits, and once you get outside that, that species can't survive under those conditions, either above or below that particular variable. So niche. The niche is the role or the job of a species in its community. A species niche includes the range of physical and biological conditions in which it can survive and reproduce, as well as the way it obtains the resources it needs to survive and reproduce. So a resource is any necessity of life. Again, what resources a particular species needs depends on what kind of species we're talking about. So when you have different individuals competing for the same resources, it creates competition. When organisms attempt to use the same limited ecological resources in the same place at the same time. As long as there's enough of it to go around for everybody, there's no competition. But when there's a limited amount and not enough to go around, it creates competition. There are different kinds of competition. If it's between members of the same species, that's called intraspecific competition. That's the most intense type because they need exactly the same resources. If it's between members of different species, they may be competing for some things, but not for everything they need. That's interspecific competition. So we've come up with this idea called the competitive exclusion principle. And what it says is no species can occupy the exact same niche in the exact same habitat at the exact same time. One's going to outcompete the other one and drive it away. And you can see that on our graph here with the two Paramecia species. Again, you can see where they end up when they're together and when they're alone. So when they're together, one species outcompetes the other one and it drives the other one out. So this leads to this idea of resource sharing to reduce competition. Like plants get resources from the soil, but they may not get it from the same level. The roots may go to different depths and help them share those resources. Birds may live in different parts of the tree and feed off of different parts of the tree. Predator-prey relationships are one way that living things interact with other living things. You have predator-prey cycles where as one species goes up, the other one typically goes down and vice versa. Herbivory is kind of like the predator-prey relationship. Herbivores affect the size, the growth, the distribution, and survival of plants by feeding on them. Oftentimes, there's a species that has a bigger, more important role in a community than one might expect. We call that a keystone species. It plays a vital and unique role in maintaining structure, stability, and diversity in an ecosystem. Sometimes a single species has such a powerful influence that changes in population size can dramatically change the structure of the whole ecosystem. That's a keystone species. So symbiosis is a particularly close interdependent relationship between two species. There's a strong relationship between these species. Now, what that relationship is can vary from species to species. Commensalism is one type of symbiotic relationship. It's a relationship in which one organism benefits the other is neither helped nor harmed. Spanish moss growing on trees, it would be an example of this. Mutualism, like the clownfish and the sea anemone pictured here, both benefit from the relationship. They're both helped. Parasitism is where one benefits and the other is harmed. The parasite benefits, the host is harmed, kind of like in a predator-prey or herbivory relationship, where the predator is helped, the prey is not only harmed, but it's killed.